Hello folks, my name is Mark, this is Why I Hate the World, what's going on? So this is a video about Jill Stein, and specifically why I'm not voting for her. So I've made plenty of videos about Trump and Clinton, and even a few about Gary Johnson, so I figure, you know, the Green Party candidate deserves her, you know, fair time. Right. Now, I line up a lot with my political positions with Jill Stein. A lot of them overlap. And of the four that are out there, I think she represents what I would like to see the most, you know. I would like her vision, you know, well, not her vision, but a lot of the positions that she takes, I would like us to eventually reach in this country, you know, scaling back the military, you know, single payer, especially her environmental stance, right? Like, for example, just basically just, you know, you can just go to her website and read through all of her stances. Like, pretty much everything she says in her environmental stance is like, I agree with 100%, you know? And so you might be wondering, well, why am I choosing not to vote for her? And it's because, for two reasons. The first reason is that I don't think that she's a viable candidate, as in, if she were to actually become president, I don't think she can handle it. She has pretty much zero actual experience in politics, like actually being elected to anything. You know, in fact, it seems like she's lost every election that she's run for, with the exception of the Lexington town meeting, which is in Lexington, Massachusetts. And they have a town, you know, town meeting style of government, and she was like a representative there for a couple of years. And everything else that she's run, she's lost. So she ran for to be the governor of Massachusetts, and then also be a representative in the House of Massachusetts, and then Secretary of the Commonwealth. I don't even know what that is, but whatever. Ran for governor again, and then she ran for president in 2012, and like she just loses. Like every single one, she just lost all of them. And it's like, so, you know, that this is one of the criticisms I have against Trump, right? He hasn't actually done anything in government ever. I mean, you know, if you think about it, Sarah Palin has more experience than Jill Stein. Okay, I mean, you know, at least Sarah Palin was the governor for a couple of years of a state, you know. So, you know, do you throw someone in to a job who has never done it before, especially a job as important as the president? You know, you gotta think about these things. You know, these things matter. And while we're applying criticism evenly, if I'm going to criticize Trump for not releasing his tax returns, then I have to do the same thing to Jill Stein. She hasn't released her tax returns either. I don't know why. I don't think she's a, you know, multi-millionaire or anything. I mean, I don't know, maybe she is. I haven't really looked into her finances or whatever. But, you know, this stuff has to apply evenly across the board, you know. Gary Johnson released his taxes, you know. Hillary Clinton released 30 years of her taxes, so how come Jill Stein can't? You know, it's like, what's the problem? I mean, it either tells me, you know, I doubt that she's hiding anything. Right? I mean, what is Jill Stein hiding in her tax returns? Probably nothing. It's just, she probably doesn't believe that she'll ever get elected, and that's why she never did it. You know, she does believe in a couple of other wacky things that I don't really, you know, agree with. In particular, her view on science. You know, she said some wacky things in regards to Wi-Fi, which, you know, whatever. I personally think that was just her, you know, pandering to the green base, because you get a lot of, like, you know, crazy alternative medicine types in the Green Party. You know, she said some, you know, she supports homeopathy, which is bullshit. That's a video all in itself. She supports reparations for slavery, right? Which is not a bad idea in and of itself. I just don't know what form it should take. You know, like I wouldn't be adverse to having some kind of reparations for slavery, but how does that go about? I mean, does that mean that they have to go hunt down the living ancestors of slaves and give them money personally? Or, I mean, I think if they were to do it, it should come in the form of scholarships. You know, like black people should have a specific scholarship that they can take advantage of. you know, to pay for college and shit like that, because the way you really get rid of poverty is through education, but that's a different video. So that's the main thing. That's the main reason why is you know, mainly her experience, right? But the other reason being that I don't, well, a lot of people are going to get mad at me for saying this, right? But fuck it, I don't care. A vote for Jill Stein in a swing state is a vote for Donald Trump. Okay. Now, a lot of people, right, are going to tell you that, you know, that's not true. And for example, they're going to say that in 2000, the Green Party didn't have much of an effect on Al Gore losing, and that's simply not true. All right. Now, before you get pissed at me and start fucking like sending me mail bombs and shit, I don't blame the election of George W. Bush on you know, Ralph Nader. In fact, in 2000, I actually voted for Ralph Nader. Okay, so before you get mad at me, before you go nuts and unsubscribe and track down where I live and, like, you know, start sending me dead rodents and shit in the mail and, you know, trying to get me fired and shit for my job, like, before you do all that, all right, I voted for Ralph Nader. Okay, so in 2000, I did. Of course, I live in California, which is a solid Democratic state, and which has been for, you know, decades. So, you know, but here's the thing. Now, it is true also that thousands of Democrats in Florida, right, voted for George W. Bush. Okay, and George W. Bush is his brother Jeb Bush got, you know, thousands of people kicked off of the voter rolls and things like that. I'm not denying any of that stuff, and I'm not saying that any of that didn't have a larger impact on the election than the Green Party, you know, than Ralph Nader. But the simple fact remains is that having the Green Party in that state split the vote, and Ralph Nader got more than the votes that Al Gore lost by, right? And if he wasn't there, those votes would have gone to Al Gore, and that's just math. I'm sorry, man, that's just how it works. Either those people wouldn't have voted, or they would have voted for Al Gore. And seeing how Al Gore only lost by 546 odd votes, right? All it would have took was 600 people voting for him in a state of millions, and, you know, history would have turned out a lot different. Okay, now that's, you know, I'm not saying that it's all his fault. I'm saying that they contributed to him losing, you know, that splitting the vote contributed to him losing, because it did. Okay, because that's simply a fact. So that doesn't mean that, you know, the Green Party, anyone who votes green or who voted green in that election, you know, myself included, needs to feel responsible for that outcome. Okay, because you're not responsible. But at the same time, it's like it's just, you know, common sense, you know, to not allow that kind of thing to happen again, right? I don't think it would even be, to put it another way, it's morally imperative that this time, if you live in a swing state, you don't split the vote, okay? Because, you know, the prospect of a Donald Trump presidency is an utter fucking nightmare, okay? He will literally be the worst, you know, he will fuck everything. I mean, I don't even have to explain it by this point. If you've been paying attention, okay, if you have a pulse out there in the world, you should know the dangers of a Trump, you know, presidency. So that's, you know, so that's the simple reason, you know, if I wouldn't even do it in a non-swing state, to be honest, like, you know, and that's the third reason, okay, because the Green Party, you know, even though I line up with them politically, you know, 90% of my stances line up with them politically, I don't think the Green Party is a serious party, right? I don't think they actually really want to actually win elections. You know, it doesn't seem like they're trying, to be honest, because they get millions of dollars. Okay, millions of people vote. You know, like, I mean, it was, you know, they get something in the area of 4% of the vote or something like that, which is like, you know, that's like 5 million people. Okay, I mean, it's a lot of people, right? So that means they get millions of dollars in contributions every year. But, you know, what are they doing with that money? It seems to me like they're wasting that money. all right, because they're not doing what a third party needs to do in order to grow. You know, they're running Jill Stein for president and they're blowing money because they know she's not going to win, right? They know that she has no chance. So every time that they fly her to a state to do a rally, every time that they bus her across, you know, to one place to another, or they put her up in a hotel, anything like that, they're wasting their money. Okay, that's what they're doing, all right? Because it's not, you know, the return is not more than what they're spending, okay? And you got to think of it like this. It's like, what should the Green Party do to become viable? Well, if I were them, if I was in charge of the Green Party, I would be starting with local elections. I'd pick a state. I'd pick California, okay? Because California has 55 electoral votes, right? I would start in California. I'd pick a town like San Francisco or something, right? I'd start running, you know, people for local elections there. Put people on the school board, you know, try to get the mayor, right? Try to get the you know, the town, you know, representatives, the state representatives, you know, the state senate and the state house, right? Try to get, you know, city representatives, things like that, councilmen, stuff like that, right? I'd build it up from the bottom so that you have a base, right, of people who will vote for you and who will consistently vote for you and who will consistently, you know, contribute. That's another thing, because, you know, like it or not, elections cost money, all right? You need money, and if you don't want to go to corporations, which I'm glad that they don't, right? Although Jill Stein actually does take corporate donations, but that's a different story. You know, if you don't want to do it the corporate route, then you need to have a large base of people, right? If you're taking small donations, then you need multiple, you know, you need a very, very large base to give you small donations in order to match what the, you know, corporations are giving to the Republicans and Democrats, right? And that's just how it is. That's how the system is set up. And whether you like it or not, you know, if you want to actually affect change, then you need to work within the system. All right. They're not doing that. Okay. Instead, they're blowing their money trying to get someone they know who isn't going to win, right? For what? For what? So she can go on TV and maybe convince one guy somewhere that to vote for it. You know, no one's gonna fucking vote. You know, it just seems like a waste of time to me, right? And, you know, don't get me wrong, I like the Green Party, but I'm not waiting around for them to fucking get their shit together. All right, it's been 16 years. Okay, what have they done since 2000 to improve their, you know, position? All right. I mean, do we have any Green Party governors? You know, do we have, and I think we may have had a couple of mayors here and there, you know, I mean, what the fuck are they doing? They're, you know, it's, you know, the libertarians are better organized than they are, all right? And those guys don't even believe in government. So it just seems to me like, you know, I'm not gonna, I don't know, it seems to me that if they were to really get their shit together and build a base in a state like California, or something like that, or, you know, Florida or something, a state that mattered, right, that had a lot of a sway nationally, you know, with electoral votes and stuff like that, then the other parties would start catering to them, right? Then you'd start seeing far more progressive stances coming out of the Democrats and even the Republicans, because they want those electoral votes, you know, and that's how you affect change, okay? And they're not doing that, so it's like, well, you know, so it is really a shitty situation for me personally, because I believe in the shit that they believe in. I just don't think that those people are doing it the right way. And if they're not going to, it's my moral responsibility to prevent, you know, to do everything I can personally to prevent somebody like Donald Trump from becoming the president. All right. And fucking everything up that we have, you know, fucking it up even more. So that's why I'm not voting for Jill Stein, because she's not serious. I'm sorry. I like her. I like her very, very much. Right. But, you know, she's not a serious candidate. Anyway, adios, folks.